What's up, YouTubers? Today we're going to talk about the Apex Alchemy knives Raptora, designed by Billy Ford with effort and influence, obviously, by Courtney Ford as well. I will link their channel below. He was an enthusiast and got into production. The Amygdala, I think, was his first design, but this is definitely the one, the Raptora, that kind of spoke to me. I didn't really have a whole lot of kind of EDC sized knives like this. They're in the 3.5-inch blade, and that was very important to me. So yeah, I will say its use case is definitely everyday carry, but it was actually very adaptable as for camping in terms of the way it handled food, because of this blade shape. It's essentially this sheep's foot with the downward cant essentially behaves like a santoku, just a kind of very small one. So very good as a camping secondary knife. Just wanted to say that up front. This knife weighs 5.1 ounces, 8.0 ounces with the sheath. So yeah, definitely also in terms of weight wise in that EDC, great realm. It has a 3.5-inch blade of 15N20 steel, which is like the toughest steel ever made for knives. It's high carbon, heat treated to 61 to 62 HRC, so no problems there. Edge retention was not a problem at all. This particular one was $215. This was an early production. He's still working on stuff, materials, prices, and things like that, replaceables. Consumables go up. So it's going to be probably in that realm of a $200, plus the leather sheath and so forth. Kind of put it in that price range, but just check with Billy and really follow his channel, and you'll get to see those. Also on Instagram too is where he posts some of the stuff about this one. So let me go ahead and show the sheath real quick, because that is half of a fixed blade knife, and this one is beautiful. It's done by it's a John Mack, who's long custom leather, and it fits this one perfectly. I will say it's a little bit tight up here, and actually let me go ahead and show this with a belt. Because it's kind of small sized, and the focus would be on a traditional leather belt, where it has a little bit of give and go, which when you're carrying it is great. But I just so happen to carry or wear a grip 6 blade belt, and it's a little bit tight getting in there, so I won't necessarily call that a drawback. But in a sense, if you do want to use one of these magnetic belts, you might need to get the slightly smaller sized one in terms of making it. It still fits through there, but it's definitely a little bit tight. And when it's in position and you kind of wear this around your waist, because of this tall stiffness, it definitely kind of bumped into my muffin top a little bit and was tight. But the sheath itself is absolutely beautiful. The leather work is gorgeous. So yeah, actually pretty good retention. You can kind of shake on this one. It forms with the kind of the finger groove there. It forms a natural kind of grab on the sheath. So yeah, this was really good, and an upright carry, excellent. Personally, I would like, jumping forward to one of the things I would rather have is just a Kydex, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So actually, yeah, let me go ahead and move the sheath out of the way, and I'll actually bring the card in. So there's a nice little production card that comes with it. Talks about the steel, the sheath, the edge. Malcolm Holt used a wicked edge and got it to 18 degrees. The HRC 6162. Handle prepared by Courtney and shaped by Billy Ford. I swear, as if I think I have very similar sized hands to Billy Ford, just because this one to me felt like it was somebody came into the sleep, kind of like I think what's their names is the Bark River. They come into my sleep and they kind of measure my hand. They say, okay, that's going to be the blade size handle is for a medium large hand, and it's excellent. Jumping forward to one of the pros there. Sorry about that. In terms of some comparisons or alternative knives, kind of in the production realm. A little bit smaller blade. This is the SE Zancudo S35 VN steel, and this one goes for I think around 135 bucks. I'll link that review that I did up there of that one. The Fogneven on a little bit tall, a little bit longer blade, just barely. The F1, and this is the standard one is VG10. This knife goes for about $150. This one just uses a Zytel, or not Zytel, but basically a rubber overmold. And this one is G10. And then kind of two more that I think would be in the realm of EDC carry would be this first one here is the M4 from Lion Steel, made out of Italy. Flat grind, a little bit thicker blade stock, also thicker handle, maybe more for outdoors, but again, it's kind of got that size for everyday carry. And then the last one here is kind of a semi-custom made in the USA. It's, well, I'd say production, but very, very, very small batch. I think he made, I don't know, maybe 30 to 50 of these. This was Bob DeMarco designed the Nova 1, and Hogtooth Knives made it. If you know DeMarco and the Knife Junkie, you know that Bowie is his blade calling, and so again, blade length very similar, much shorter handle though, and I think that was really for, that's one of the important carries for DeMarco. So let's jump into the pros of this knife. This is a very price conscious knife, and that's one of the things that Billy really tried to do is to be price conscious and not turn it into a $350 one. And so some of the material choices and so forth are designed around that, and I'll call it kind of a semi-custom knife, so you don't necessarily just go to say, oh yeah, I want this, I want that, I want that. Maybe he would do that, I'm not sure, check with him. But you know what, he basically buys some handle materials, some micarta, some woods. This particular one is G10 with G10 liners, and I like this particular color. I'm just one of those people that likes neon green, because when I do take this out camping, I like to be able to find knives, especially like in the dark or otherwise, and this particular color is very nice for that. So it's very cost conscious in terms of USA made, but good materials as well. I'm going to go right into what for me is kind of maybe the strongest pro of this knife. This is made of 15N20 steel, which I forget if it's Böhler or Udholm, whether it be Sweden or Austria, but it's a traditional, I think, ingot form steel. So it's not the powder form, the new fancy stuff, S35VN, Magna Cut, etc. But and again, if I have a chance, I'll link it below. But Billy did a video on 15N20 is the toughest steel made, literally for knife blades. So you're not going to find a tougher blade steel than this. And the way that it was heat treated to 6162, good edge retention. It's just a carbon steel, and so you're gonna have to oil it if you're kind of in a humid area. I live in Colorado, not overly humid, so I don't necessarily worry about rusting or pitting on that one. For me, you saw on the front side, it literally went through the nail. Let me go ahead and not through the nail, but where's the nail? Stand by. Oh, there it is. So I beat the heck out of this nail. In fact, let me see. You can kind of see where the nick is there, where it cut pretty good into it, and then it just started bending it once it rolled over. The 15N20 did not chip. It just rolled, and I hit it really hard 6 times, so hard that it kind of actually even separated out the G10 a little bit from the scale. So is that knife abuse? Yeah, I would consider that knife abuse. But in this case, I remember 15N20, and it was the second reason I was attracted to this knife is because who didn't watch Forged in Fire and really help solidify their love of blades and blade making from that show. But if you remember, 15N20 was always combined with 1095 to make the Damascus steel that pretty much every winner utilized for their final knife, final blade. It will usually a sword, I guess. But yeah, so 15N20 for me is a strong point. He's already kind of showed up on his Instagram that some future blade stocks are going to be out of Magna Cut, stainless, a great steel. I love it. It's my favorite fixed blade steel, but in this case, this is going to be the, even if this is the one and only 15N20, for me, it's a strength. The blade, it's 0.31 inch blade stock steel. In fact, let me go ahead and just show how thin it is. It's the same thickness as this, it's the same thinness, I should say, as this nail. And so 0.13 is, and I'm glad that he chose to go a little bit thinner from the original designs, along with the low hollow grind, the sheep's foot cut, which does draw cuts really well with this downward cant. It does boxes excellent because it kind of, with the downward cant, it kind of grabs like a hawkbill in that sense that it draws material to it. And it also cuts vegetables really, really well. I was like, this is excellent. In fact, let me go ahead and just bring up one of the knives that was somewhat a blade shape that was somewhat inspirational for him, and that's the Insingo sheep's foot blade from Chris Reeve Knives. This is the Inkosi. But I do want to show this real quick, because on top of there, if you kind of line up the handles, you'll see that you have the trailing up sheep's foot of the Inkosi here, and but this one with that downward cant, again, it kind of grabs the material. And so for my liking, I actually liked it better. I would rather handle this, definitely for draw cuts. And it's just that natural handle position, excellent. I can't tell you how much I like that. That was just fantastic. Let's jump into the actual handle. It's very full lengthwise. I love it. So if you needed to kind of go back a little bit, it's just definitely very full-sized in terms of the height. It's very thin, though, for the EDC carry and the slimline. In your hand, you know, you pay for that a little bit if you're cutting, if you're trying to, like, you know, carve wood a lot. You know, it's got a V edge, so it's not the best at that, but it'll definitely work on woodwork. And so I don't, this is not a bushcrafting knife, and I would not anticipate holding it that a long time. But you know what? For cutting down boxes, absolutely great. The finger groove is excellent right here. The swell at the bottom. Also, again, it combines to make this fit into a medium-large hand really well. And they also built in chamfering. And that's kind of that semi-custom / custom work that gets done on it. It's not just squared off G10. It's chamfered nicely, so it fits super comfortable pretty much in every position. There is one, I will say one notable. So in pull cut position like this, very comfortable. However, there's a little bit of a sharp point. We're jumping into one of the cons right there, so that if you're doing a full choke up, pull cut position like that, a little bit sharp. I've notified Billy on that, and that might be something that he's gonna, you know, just knock that down a little bit, just round it just the slightest bit, because I like the secure, in terms of the pull, what that groove provides, the secure hold in hand, both forward and reverse, very good, but just knock that down the slightest bit. And I will say, in terms of the size, it fits my wife's hand as well as it fits mine. So medium large to a small hand, this is going to fit everybody. Yeah, like I said, the blade, the handle, everything, you know, the materials is just, it's all a pro on this one. In terms of some of the cons, already talked about it a little bit, that little nub there, you know, with a little bit of, just a little bit of, dumbing down, not dumbing down, just dulling down of that. Then you can do a full choke up pull cut, and it'll be great. And again, with that cant, it will pull material towards you. And then lastly, and I have talked to Billy about this as well, is this blade shape is, with the downward cant, what I consider a strength. It does not facilitate, if you kind of look at, if you just kind of take a straight line, you see that it kind of cuts down there. And likewise, if you kind of draw a straight line here, you have bits and pieces that, when they're not squared up, don't facilitate, you know, for solid Kydex mountings, because you have to basically come in at an angle. And I'm going to kind of show an example for those people that might have had this. This is the Neves Knives Felon. And Tim Kell, it was the biggest challenge he had, is because when you have a karambit in a fixed blade position like this, where it essentially has to come in from an angle, you have to rely on other things to kind of make it retain. And this one does have, I won't say retention issues, but it's not the strong point of it. And that was a challenge for Tim Kell, and it's really a challenge for any knife that kind of is essentially just not squared away. If you kind of just imagine drawing a line right here, squaring it away, you kind of lose that a little bit, and so you'd have to be coming in at an angle, and it just did not facilitate it. But you know what? Enter in this knife, or this sheath, and I will say for myself, given the fact that it was a little bit tight with mine. It works really well with a Dangler add-on from Castrum Knives. So I just, for my own personal carry, when I was carrying this thing, it worked great. I just went ahead and slapped in that Dangler. Yeah, it banged around a little bit for a little tiny knife, but you know what? It was capable of handling that. So really, a lot good going on here. And for one of his first designs, like I said, I think the amygdala was first. I would say it's well thought out, well produced, well finished for an early production model, and fairly priced. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to say well priced. This particular one from Hogtooth was 280 bucks, I think. And and this one's in the $200 round. Is that going to fluctuate with time, materials? Magna Cut may be more expensive than 15 and 20. I don't know, but it's very possible. But I do know that Billy and Courtney are keeping that in mind. Is to say, hey, you know what? Something made in the USA, great utility, usefulness. Something that's not going to be too expensive. You're going to want to use it. It's got the capabilities. I would say everything about this is basically well thought out and well put together. So I hope this was of use, and if not, interesting, and I appreciate the like and subscribe. Have a great day. What's up, YouTubers? Today we're going to talk about the Apex Alchemy knives. Ugh. What's up, YouTubers? Sorry.